Ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to begin, please be seated. I have a few housekeeping notes to make before we begin today's program. First, I would like to seek your cooperation in completing this 3 hours forum. Kindly scan the QR code displayed on your screen to register your attendance. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to begin, please be seated. I have a few housekeeping notes to make before we begin today's program. First, I would like to seek your cooperation in completing this 3 hours forum. Kindly scan the QR code displayed on your screen to register your attendance. Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. Welcome to Chit Chat Intellectual Property IP Rights Issues in Event Management Forum 2022. My name is Nur Farhana Shahnuddin and I am the Orion Bellatrix Event Management Committee will be serving as your MC today. I appreciate you taking your time off your busy schedules to join us. I hope you will learn a lot today. Before we start, I would like to welcome all of you to sing the national anthem, followed by Wawasan Setia Warga UiTM together.
Bersatu kita warga UiTM, kita bangsa perkasa, taat dan setiaku untuk negara, penuh semangat wajar. Kita jangan mudah terlupa pengorbanan perjuangan anak bangsa. Kita jangan mudah terleka kemajuan keamanan yang ada. Kita berterima kasih pada pemimpin-pemimpin negara. Kita rasa penuh bersyukur kerahmatan kemuliaan darinya. Kamilah pendukung pewaris bangsa. Kamilah pendarat bangsa Malaysia. Kamilah warga kawasan negaraku.
Thank you for your cooperation. Dearest audience, to bless this meaningful forum, I would like to invite Mr. Ahmad Amirul Afiq bin Ahmad Kamal to lead the Doa recitation.
Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Di majlis yang mulia ini kami merafakkan rasa kesyukuran kepadamu ya Allah, Tuhan pencipta sekalian alam yang Maha Pemurah lagi Maha Penyayang, atas segala nikmat yang Kau kurniakan kepada kami ya Allah. Dapat kami berkumpul di sini untuk sama-sama menjayakan program Forum Intellectual Property Issues in Event Management, anjuran pelajar tahun akhir sarjana muda keputusan majlis. Di kesempatan ini, kami memohon padamu, Ya Allah, semoga segala usaha bumi ini akan dapat bertingkatkan ilmu serta ketakwaan dalam diri kami, serta peserta yang menghadiri program forum anjuran kami. Ya Allah, Ya Rashid, jadikanlah kami golongan yang bijaksana, berwibawa dan berkemampuan untuk membantu melahirkan masyarakat yang mementingkan ilmu serta sentiasa berdaya saing dalam menceburi bidang yang diminati. Tingkatkanlah kami dengan kemahiran dan penguasaan dalam bidang yang diceburi, supaya hasil kerja kami mencapai tahap kualiti yang diterima baik di tingkat kemasaan maupun antara bangsa. Ya Allah, Ya Rahim, curahkanlah nikmat yang berterusan kepada kami. Kurniakanlah petunjuk kepada kami dalam menggapai keredaan-Mu, Ya Allah. Jauhkanlah kami dari bawah penyakit dan bencana. Ampunilah dosa-dosa kami. Kukuhkanlah perpaduan serta muhibah antara kami. Sematkanlah jua ke dalam diri kami, Ya Allah, rasa tanggungjawab atas setiap tugas yang diamanahkan kepada kami untuk dilaksanakan. Ya Allah, lancarkanlah perjalanan program hari ini. Semoga ianya menjadi wadah untuk kami mendekatkan diri dengan-Mu selain berjaya mencapai objektif yang digariskan. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam Muhammad wa ala alihi washabbihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Cakap antara perpindahan atau
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Ahmad Awil Afiq, for the beautiful recitation. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our advisor for EVM 603 Issues in Event Management, Madam Sarinah binti Sabar. We wouldn't be here where we are now without your guidance and support. Thank you. Next, you will be hearing a discussion from our brilliant and experienced panels on this very timely subject, intellectual property rights, issues in event management. Before we start, I would once again introduce you to the first panel, Mr. Jonathan Seevaratnam, event producer of Jiggee Event Management in Asia. And our second panel we have with us here today is Mr. Muhammad Shaufiq bin Abdul Latif, Deputy Director of MYIPO Copyright Division. Welcome to all panels and thank you to all for taking your time to talk to us today. Let's give them a round of applause. IP in short can cover every unique aspect of an event from concept, theme, design, decoration, artwork, animation, branding, whatever products the event intends to launch to the entire event itself. Therefore, safeguarding relevant IP is vitally important to the success of an event. Without securing that IP, an event will be prone to several risks. I can't wait any longer to hear what our panels have for us today. I will pass the next session to our moderator, Ms. Nurul Yasmin Jasri. But before that, Please enjoy this 3 minutes video of Jiggee and MYIPO.
Getting jiggy with it.
Welcome to the live streaming of RB Virtual Conference 2020. How are you guys doing? Now we have from Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and of course, Thailand.
Southeast Asia will grow 37%. And what you can see in this very busy slide is one thing. Q4 that we have to deliver, it's an easier quarter than the average that we have been delivering so far in 2020.
The next award goes to India in Singapore. Congratulations.
Southeast Asia was not in the map of our company. And now we've gotten ourselves not only in the map, but very, very high in this team of RB worldwide.
Hi, you look happy.
Well, I just made a chair with a new design. Hey, come on, take a look. Isn't it great?
That looks great. Hey, better register with MYIPO then.
MYIPO? What's that?
Intellectual Property Corporation of Malaysia, or MYIPO, is an agency for registering intellectual property, or IP. MYIPO administers and regulates as well as supervises IP issues. Look around you. What do you see?
A lot of things. Electronics, furniture, pictures, and a whole lot of other stuff. What am I supposed to be looking at?
All of these things are all IPs. IP exists in many forms: logo or trade names, books, films, and designs. By registering your chair design, you can protect your created work.
Hey, how do I register?
Just go to the MYIPO office and make a registration application. Or you can also do it online. That's not all. Once you've registered, you can reap the rewards.
Wow, how do I do that?
You can publish your IP details, and a lot of people will see it on IPR Marketplace.
IPR Marketplace? Hey, where is that?
The IPR Marketplace is a web-based platform that brings together and connects individuals, investors, and businesses in the commercialization and trading of all IP rights. With IPR Marketplace, you can sell or license out your work not only locally, but internationally too.
Wow, I'm going to MYIPO right now. MYIPO, protecting innovation, enhancing competitiveness. For more information, go to www.myipo.gov.my.
Thank you to our MC Nurfana Shanuddin for giving me the floor. And hi everyone, my name is Yasmin. I am the moderator for today's session. So how are you guys doing? I hope you are in a peak of health, and I thanks to all the participants that willing to spend your time in joining today's forum with us. So before I start the sessions, I know some of our audience are unaware or unfamiliar with what intellectual property specifically in event management. I'm aware that most of the audience today are majoring in event management, and some of you have different major. So therefore, I will make a quick short introduction to what is intellectual property is. The definitions of intellectual property is actually a form of intangible asset, which is a creation of mind that is created and become the exclusive right of the creator or the owner of the IP. As we know, property is a building or some things like that. Okay. I'm sorry for the technical issues. Wait a moment. Alright. Okay, I will continue. As we know, the property is a building or something like that, but this one is created by our own mind, which the basic knowledge that translate into explicit knowledge. So intellectual property also created by category and will be protected according to the Category Act. It also has two types of category. One is copyright and the other one is industry property, which the topic we will go further and go through with each of our dedicated panelists. So today we have honorable speaker from Jiggee Event Management, Mr. Jonathan Seevaratnam, who also is an event producer. Not just that, we also have a representative from Intellectual Property Corporation of Malaysia, MYIPO, Mr. Muhammad Shafiq bin Abdul, a Deputy Director of MYIPO Corporate Divisions. There are many interesting topics, thoughts, and contents that we would like to listen on how copyright can influence intellectual property in event management. So, how are you, Mr. Jonathan and Mr. Muhammad Shafiq?
Good morning. I'm good.
Great.
Good. All right, great. All right, I hope both of you are in pink of health. It is a wonderful opportunity for me to lead our conversations on this forum and be the representative to discuss more on the intellectual property in event management. I hope this forum turned up so well. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Jonathan, which is our first panel. Mr. Jonathan Seevaratnam is a founder and CEO of Jiggee, a premier event agency based in Malaysia and Singapore, which is he also entertainment guru at Jiggee, a 32 years old international award-winning special event agency that focuses on virtual, hybrid, and live events. So Mr. Jonathan moved from a professional clown into a business owner and expertise in planning digital events. So before we start our topic today, Mr. Jonathan, can you explain a little bit more of yourself and Jiggee event management to us?
Sure.
I would like to welcome Mr. Jonathan Seevaratnam. Have the floor. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Yasmin. Thanks, everyone.
Alright,
Hi, guys. And hi, Mr. Shafiq as well, my fellow panelists. Thanks for this opportunity, everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. If you can, just say hello in the chat box. That'll be helpful. Not easy to talk to a virtual audience, especially when 50% of you don't have your cams on. By the way, in virtual events, it's very rude to have your cams off, by the way. So please remember this. When you welcome people to come and speak to you, it's very disrespectful to not have your cams on. In virtual events, having your cam on is a mark of respect. Please remember that, yeah? Especially to the lecturers in this conversation as well. So anyways, yes, as you briefly heard, I am the founder of Jiggee. We're 22 years old this year. I started the company when I was 21. So it is possible. And we're still here today. I started this business when I was still in university. I've never worked for anyone. We have won awards around the world. I'm Malaysian, proudly Malaysian, and we are a Malaysian company. So Malaysia boleh. All right? And we do events across the world actually right now. This year we've got events in Thailand, in Brunei. We've got events in Australia coming up. And so, you know, for a Malaysian company, we've done very well. I'm very proud of the team. And so thank you for having me. And I look forward to sharing my point of view with the questions that you guys have. Great topic, by the way. Thank you.
So, Mr. Jonathan, can I proceed for the first question?
Sure.
All right. So, as I know that Mr. Jiggee Business Venture that hosts an event that is unique, leading, and innovative, this is where the intellectual property, which is IP, comes into the context. So we know the procedure is not simple to get the copyright, trademarks, and anything, as that links to intellectual property for some company.
Yep.
So, in your opinion, what are the most significant challenge to obtain an intellectual property right for an event management company?
Well, actually, so far, I mean, it's not been that difficult because if you dig hard enough, just like how we've got MYIPO here, there's plenty of bodies locally that can assist with IP. Like even we ourselves at the early stages of our company, we got ourselves registered. It was a trademark, and now we're registered. I own the Jiggee logo. I own the name Eventainment Guru, and things like that. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you protect yourself. But that being said, in the events industry, as we do the events we produce, I think the biggest common challenge that we face these days is more now in the world of online events and stuff like that. So everything you put is out there, and very quickly you're going to find that you get flagged for all sorts of IP rights, copyright issues across the board. You've got Meta, and they own everything, right? IG. Now you've got YouTube and all of that. So in our virtual events industry, that's where we faced a lot more challenges than we did in the live events industry. But I think the biggest issue so far has been IP rights when it came to music streaming, video streaming, and content streaming. Even though we've paid for it, we've got licenses and stuff like that, we still face red flags. I hope that was a good lead into the challenges we face.
Yeah, it's a very great exposure that I know that since it's a lot of any circumstances that you will face if you host the virtual event, which is I really thanks for the answer. Thank you very much. That it was good and interesting start. So this is just I want to make sure you are in the right time to have a frame in your mind. What are we going to discuss more about this? So I would like to invite another panel. For the second panel is from Representative Intellectual Property Corporations of Malaysia, MYIPO, Mr. Muhammad Shafiq bin Abdul, a Deputy Director of MYIPO Copyright Divisions that have been involved and deal with intellectual property, which means our panelist has the hands-on experience in the copyright and related rights protection in Malaysia. That is the most important things that we have. Not go into that means we don't have that kind of experience and also the knowledge extend across all the aspect of intellectual property. Without further ado, please welcome our honorable guest panelist, Mr. Muhammad Shafiq bin Abdul, a Deputy Director of MYIPO, Copyright Divisions of MYIPO. So can you tell us more about intellectual property specifically in event management, since you are quite experiencing on copyright divisions from MYIPO? The floor is yours.
Hi, a very good morning. So it's pleased to connect with you, Mr. Jonathan, as well as the committees here. So it's great pleasure for me to share on the MYIPO side. I think most of you doesn't know what is MYIPO, because generally when I speak to some audience, they doesn't know what is the role of MYIPO itself and what we do actually. And to clarify further on this, so basically I'm just a little bit about myself. This is my 7th year in MYIPO. So previously I'm practicing as a lawyer in a legal firm, specializing in IP, majoring mostly in copyright things, like how do you actually want to protect your copyrighted work and so on, and attending several seminar events to advocate the rights to protect intellectual property. And also what we do in MYIPO is actually we want to actually register intellectual property. I mean, any kind of innovation, any kind of creation, so that as a result of your registration, we will give you a monopoly rights over your work. When you got that monopoly rights, you actually can license that right. You want to actually deal with that right, and perhaps some other users want to use a piece of your works, then that person have to pay some amount of royalty. We also actually advise on transaction regarding the IP contracts and any related issues with regard to what has been Sir Jonathan mentioned just now, mostly on piracy issues, because now that we live in a digital era where most of the corporate thing has been digitized into the public. So whenever people want to use the copyrighted works, for example, they need to contact the OTT services, they need to contact the service provider or content provider. Then it is at your fingertips. So as a result of use, you actually have to adhere some terms and conditions to that use. For example, if you watch YouTube video, for example, your license is only to view. You are not authorized to download. So it will be illegal to download. But different approaches when it comes to the covering a song, for example. Even the act of covering someone's song is illegal in nature, but the marketplace, they actually likes when someone cover their song because it will boost their popularity of that song. So even though it's illegal, but it is actually permitted by the artist itself. So one of the attracting issues that need to be discussed is in terms of the event management is one of it. Yeah, thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Mr. Shafiq. Since Mr. Jonathan has already mentioned that since they conduct the hybrid or live and virtual event and involve like the music, videos, which is related to the intellectual property, and there's some difficulties in producer or to obtaining the intellectual rights. So can I know, and I would like to proceed with the second questions, which is, do you mind sharing what are the procedures that applicant must comply when applying intellectual property such as trademark, copyright, or patents in their videos or music in event?
I think that's a question Shafiq can answer.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Mr.
okay.
Shafiq. All right.
Yeah, okay. So most of the questions that pointing towards MYIPO is regarding on whether an applicant needs to apply for whether they need to actually register their intellectual property works to MYIPO. So we know that in MYIPO, we don't actually have like one specific components for IP. We have various type of rights. For example, in IP itself, we have patents, we have trademark, we have copyright, we have industrial design, we have the layout circuit design, and some other things like the graphical indication. Most of the problems when the public want to register their copyrighted work with us is they doesn't know what is the perfect IP that suits their product. For example, a public comes to the MYIPO and they want to actually patent their copyrighted works. So when you are using the term patent to copyright an innovation work, is it actually wrong? You copyrighted the works is another is one thing. You patented the work is another thing. So most of the public confuse the types of intellectual property work they actually want to register. So the questions with regard to on how to register such IP, you can just come into MYIPO. I prefer that you actually have a separate session regarding on how to file copyright registration to MYIPO, because this webinar is mainly we want to discuss on the issues like event management. So on the question on how they know whether it is a new and different from anything that exists and is qualified to be protected under IP. Firstly, if you want to register for IP, it must be novel. It must be something new. It must be actually created as a result, as a sufficient effort comes out from your hands, not from copying from others. You just take a piece from this website, take a piece from this work, and then you combine it and you claim it as your work. That will be illegally wrong. I mean, that's from the MYIPO point of view. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Shafiq. Now I clear how the procedure goes. Since we already know about the procedures, about the trademarks, and I know like some of the audience wondering, does copyright applications go through the same procedure as the trademarks? Like as you mentioned before that they must go to the MYIPO itself to get the procedure done.
Sorry, can you rephrase that question?
Or since I know like the procedures how to get the applicants must comply the intellectual property trademarks, and the other question is, does the copyright applications go through the same procedures as trademark? Since Mr. Shafiq mentions before that they must like more prefer to go to direct to MYIPO itself.
Okay. So you see that since I'm the corporate division, so I've been talking about mostly on the copyright. To register your copyright, you doesn't need to come to MYIPO because copyright is actually protected automatically. Let's say, for example, you have a book. You will foresee that most of the book have some kind of copyright notice, like copyright all rights reserved belongs to A, and A have the right to prevent the reproduction of that rights. And further illegal use of that work might subject to copyright infringement. That is sufficient to actually make known to the public that that is your work and that is a copyrighted works. For trademark, in order for you to get the trademark protection, you must actually register it with MYIPO. It is not the same as copyright. That's why when you see there is a term TM and also the term R. TM actually referred to a trademark which is not registered. But R refers to the trademark which is registered. When you register your trademark, you actually obtain a right to actually commercialize your work under the Trademark Act 2019. If you don't register your trademark, you will lose your rights to actually get protection under the Act. But still, the law itself will still protect an unregistered trademark under the common law of equity, some sort of law that actually give you a protection even though you are not registered. I mean, that's the difference between the copyright and trademark. And another thing regarding the difference is that copyright is actually mostly you register a fine art works which doesn't serve a purpose. Let's say for a painting, for example, you want to register for a painting as a drawing, you want to register the music, the sheets of music, you want to register, let's say for example, artistic work, a literary work, a book. That these kind of work is serve no functions. They serve no what can I say, that they are just a mere works. Unless that work is functioning. For example, you have a drawing of Mona Lisa. That drawing of Mona Lisa is a fine art. Let's say for example, in that day, you are actually sick or you have a fever. You look at the Mona Lisa drawing and suddenly your fever gone. So that drawing might be patented because the purpose of patent is to solve the technology. It will make you recover from your fever, then it might be patented because it serves a purpose to actually recover, to actually treat you from a fever. If it doesn't solve the problem of technology, you just can copyright it because it doesn't serve any purpose. That's the difference between copyright and patents. I mean that's all for me at the moment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can I ask a question from myself? Like, since you are quite experienced in copyright Malaysia, have you ever dealt in any copyright in event industry? Like, what is the common issues that arise involving copyright in event industry? Since most of our audience are from event background, so we are quite curious what issues arise when registering or involving copyright in event industry.
Okay, so with regards to the event industry itself, I mean, John has pointed out that we are actually faced with a new generation that have a perception of free access of using all the copyrighted material free. Because when you look before the images of internet, we are actually during 1980s, for example, we want to if you want to actually get a book, we just lend it from a bookshop. Now, I think there is no bookshop that actually give you actually when you want to actually get a book. I mean, for example, a video. We have, I mean, back in 2000 era where there is a video shop, you can actually loan a video from a speedy shop. Now, I think there is no more that kind of shop, especially I think in one of the shop in Mid Valley. I mean, that shop I think closed already because copyright actually moved into the digital world. From actually we download things, we might consume, the new generation might want to opt for a streaming because they doesn't have to download, they doesn't have to actually store the copyrighted works in their hard disk, for example. They just need to buy a password from Netflix and just stream a movie. I mean, these kind of consumptions actually move to a new perception that everything is free. In terms of event management, we foresee that some of the, not Jonathan here, but perhaps some of the event managers out there, they actually doesn't want to pay some amount of money because as a result of the commercial use, that is totally wrong. Because what we want to actually get from the online platform, for example, we must to look at their terms and condition of use. If you want to use it as for your personal preference or for your domestic watch in your home, for example, you doesn't need a license, you just watch it. If you want to organize a program, for example, you want to include that piece of music in your event management, you have to actually pay some amount of money due to the corporate holders because they hold their works. Because you are actually a licensee, you should get a license from a licensor of such work before you organize such event and so on. You get, in other words, you have to actually clear your copyright material here before you want to use it for your own purpose. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Can I ask a point of view to Ms. Jonathan? Like, in your point of view, how intellectual property is useful and how intellectual property can affect in event management, like when you do the event itself?
That's actually a very interesting question. You are asking me, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Being Malaysians, where we come from a history of being the king of piracies. I'm sorry, Shafiq, but it's true. So, and the Western world, they glorify intellectual property and copyright protection at the highest levels, even in event production. And I'm not against it. All I'm saying is, we come from a culture where, let's not kid ourselves. This is not at the top of our list. We've just always gotten by with ala buat je lah. If they come and kacau, then they kacau lah. Sorry, Shafiq, again, no disrespect to your industry. But that is the truth of the matter, right? And it's only now that the winds of change are coming where it's starting to affect us. And again, when we went digital, Big Brother of Meta and everything that they own and Google and everything that they own, they were controlling us. That's why when you do a live stream now, you can't just happily play whatever you want to play. You got to play royalty free, and even that. So live streams got affected in the first year of virtual events. People blindly just played whatever they wanted to play, not knowing that you get hammered by. So you've got people on payroll just to check the content that is being uploaded and streamed on YouTube or IG or whatever it is, right? So prior to that, it was just live events where, in the West especially, you couldn't just happily do an Oscars theme party and put the 2 Golden Globe figures there. They'll come and hammer you. Pro bono lawyers will come and sue you for everything you're worth. Even right now, there's a cafe in Hong Kong getting sued by Warner Brothers because they are a Harry Potter themed cafe. It's a 5-year-old cafe. Now they're getting sued because they went and happily did a thematic cafe to Harry Potter. I mean, the poor guys didn't know what hit them, but suddenly they got hammered. So this kind of stuff is legit, right? But I think for us event planners, balancing the Asian mindset of let's just get it out of the way, make it happen, and the Western world will catch up with us soon. Now we realize that eyes and ears are everywhere. We have to be mindful of these things. We can't just happily, blindly produce stuff that has tons of copyright and intellectual property behind it. If it's your own idea, well and good. For instance, the video that you guys played of my work, people actually used it and I went right after them. They were using it as their own showcase. Oh, we can do virtual like this. And the best part, the client sent me the brief using my video as a brief. I'm like, the audacity of you. I went straight to the management and said, how dare your committee use my work and brief 10 event companies? That's my work. I own it. I even had somebody download my website and re-upload it as their own. I gave him 24 hours before I said, I sued you for everything you're worth. And it was an event company who downloaded my website and re-uploaded it as their own work. So this stuff is available. I mean, it happens to us. I mean, they always say, what is that? Something is the best form of flattery, mimicry, or whatever you want to call it, copying people. But in our work is our work, right? So my work is my copyright. My work is also my own IP. So I think the key thing here is finding balance. And if we're going to use stuff that is out there, that is protected by IPs and copyrights, we need to get permission for it. So even now, we pay for music, we license our music. And even that, with licensed music, last week Instagram removed 3 of my videos. I'm like, hey, hello, I've already paid for the music. Apa lagi you nak? What else do you want? But to go and argue with these clowns that I've got the licensing for the music, I'm like, you know what, just remove it lah. I don't care lah. You know what I mean? It's just, Shafiq, if there's a way around this, please advise me, because I've paid for the music. I've got the licensing sheet, and yet they still flag it and say this song is whatever, copyright, yada yada. So I'd like to argue with these guys, because they've got people on payroll just literally going through content that's either on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and they're constantly flagging us. And I'm like, why? We've paid for the music. We're not using free music. We have bought the music. I had a video removed on Vimeo and YouTube, and until now I'm trying to find a way to argue with these people. So I'd like to know if there's an angle around that, Shafiq. We can talk about that PM to P, because I don't know. It's my work. I paid for it. Why are you flagging it and removing it? So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Ms. Jonathan and also Mr. Shafiq. Since the sessions are now getting more interesting, and I just catch up with the last part of that just now. So please stay put with us, and I would like to invite again Mr. Jonathan to further discuss about intellectual property and the background as an event manager of Jiggee, and from your angle of view. As I aware that you mentioned that you have like the music issues that you took down your video that involved with the music that you said just now. So has your company encountered another intellectual property risk in the past 22 years in industry? Is just more related to the music, or?
Yeah. So you're right. To be honest, before this, the spin-off to digital, we have been, I hate to use the word, operating with impunity, right? Because you do theme events all the time. Everybody does a Disney theme, a Marvel theme, or an Avengers theme. You do it. We go berserk with the decor and all of that. But I've been told that in the West, you will get hammered. Pro bono lawyers come after you and sue you on behalf of either Marvel Studios or Warner Studios or whichever studio, right? So my associates in the West always give me a friendly warning, like, hey, we see that you're doing a lot of these thematic events, but just so you know, in our neck of the woods, you could get in trouble for it. You can't just blindly do a themed event. And so case in point, again, like Harry Potter Cafe getting sued now by Warner Studios, right? So I think in the days of live events, because we do a variety of things, the only area that I have seen that there could have been problems, but we didn't face it before, but now I'm aware of it, would be in the themed events. Because with conferences and meetings, you don't face any of that. There's nothing there that you're infringing any form of IP and copyrights. But in the private events industry, whether you're party planning or anything of that sort, where there's a more a detailed theme involved, now that's where you can start to infringe on some of this. Because at the end of the day, we are all influenced by what we see and what we watch, right? So even now, the Korean influence or the Bollywood influence, all of that. Obviously, they're not so anal to come after you the way the Western world would, but they have a right to. You know what I mean? You can't just blindly do all these themed events and not, but people still do it. It's inevitable in our industry. But I think so far, no, we've not faced any real issues in all my years, except in this last 2 years, and it's all been with the online world, digital events.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Mr. Jonathan, for enlightening what's going in the real industry, which I don't know. And also, like, if you face like another circumstances. All right, sorry, circumstances, and any error in your industry. So, like, how you handle that related to the IP, or you just assign the person in charge or someone to in charge handles to encounter the problems.
Well, I've got a lawyer, so it's my
Oh.
lawyer's job to look at all my work. If I ever get, I mean, whenever we've been suddenly been approached, either in a friendly or not so friendly manner, then we also, send our own along back lah. That's what lawyers for, right? Let the lawyers do their thing. We step out of the scene. I mean, but again, it's not been an issue so far.
Oh, so in event industry, intellectual property is not really affected, is it?
Well, as I said, I mean, so far we've not tread on the wrong toes. People have tread on our toes. I've threatened to sue a few people, and then of course they disappeared by making sure they didn't copy my work. But other than that, no. Yeah.
Oh, right.
We're quite safe that way. We don't like to, press the wrong buttons and look for the wrong attention.
Oh, I see. Thank you, Mr. Jonathan. And can I ask another question? Like, what are the most common assumptions you see from startup or small business owner regarding intellectual property in event management?
So I think the biggest one is what I just said, and they do it all the time. Small companies literally blindly copy or just literally basically fake it till you make it. They use other people's work as their own. And most of the time, they set up a company profile using Google Images. The audacity of it, but they do that, right? I've actually seen a friend of mine, it happened to them, and this is where I can proudly say, a Singaporean party planner company copied the entire work of this Malaysian luxury party planning company, which is good friends of mine, and happily showed off their work as their own. Just without two hoots. Copy pasted from their Facebook, re-upload on their Facebook. Just because I kept telling my friend, why do you not have your logos and your copyright on every photo you upload? They're like, no, it spoils my picture. They're all about creativity because they're such a luxury bespoke planner. I'm like, I'm sorry, but then you're allowing anyone to take your work and sell it as their own. If you don't, I plaster my watermark everywhere. You better be damn good at Photoshop to be able to remove all my watermarks. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to protect, in this creative industry, people are unscrupulous. They're always going to do that. They're going to take your work and pitch it as their own work. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest mistake that a lot of newbies are doing. I mean, everybody wants to quickly rise to the top or quickly tell that they're good at what they do. So a lot of people in our industry, in the creative industry, literally just, honestly, they are the ones copying other people's work as their own. So for those of us who are experienced or seasoned, a lot of times, I mean, I've had industry friends come and show me my concepts that were used by other event companies or being sold as work that they did. It's common practice. It's very common. You can't protect yourself. You just can't. And half the time, you go in for an RFP. In fact, I'd like to know how I can sue my clients who take my ideas and use other people. They basically do an RFP. 10 event companies sell their ideas. They lelong everyone. They put together the best ideas and they give it to their preferred agency. Because half the time, the agencies are obviously paying people off in the committee. This is Malaysia for you, by the way. I don't practice that and I never will. But it is what it is. They take your ideas and they give it to their preferred agency, and there's nothing we can do to protect ourselves here. Event agencies are at the bottom of the pile. You got ad agencies, PR agencies, media agencies, and we're sadly the ones at the bottom. And clients take full advantage of that. We have not been able to protect ourselves and our ideas. And if there's a way around that, Shafiq, I'd like to know. I'll be the first to champion my industry and protect my fellow industry mates. Because our ideas are stolen from us all the time.
I see. Even that's your own idea and people still...
Yeah, you think clients care? They don't care what? They'll just change it a little bit and then it's not your idea anymore. You see, it's a different idea. Iyalah.
Oh.
Oh yeah, they do it all
Even
the
you
time.
already place your like trademark or your own copyright.
You can't because it's an idea.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You come up with ideas, you sell the idea. I mean, we are doing creative pitches all the time. How do you trademark your idea?
Yeah.
If I was trademarking ideas, by now I think I got 1,000 trademarks already lah.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's really no way we've been able to protect ourselves so far. I mean, you sign an NDA, it's got zero meaning lah, zero, because the client just tweaks one thing. They just change one thing. It's not the same. What you see is different. How do you protect yourself? We've not been able to find a way to protect ourselves so far. I mean, in the West, scare tactics by lawyers and all that work lah. Over here, whatever lah, you know. The big companies, they just bulldoze their way over you. So us event agencies are always on the receiving end of the stick. Yeah.
Right.
I hope
Right.
that.
Yeah, it's really helped. Like, it's a new exposure for me that I just know that if it's related to the idea, there's nothing we can do. Especially we event itself, we sell the experience, so it's quite hard. All right. And right, thank you, Mr. Jonathan, for the explanation and from your point of view as an event manager. So can I ask Mr. Shafiq? I want to ask about the enforcement or the challenge of intellectual property rights change in digital environments. Do you mind sharing how does the enforcement challenge of intellectual property rights change in digital environments nowadays?
Hi. With regards to the corporate enforcement, I mean the intellectual property enforcement, I would like to discuss in a macro way. For example, when you see we are living in a borderless internet world, because everything you can actually get it at your fingertips. So one of the challenges to actually enforce to exclusive rights given to the copyright owners is to create some kind of mechanism to combat piracy. I mean, you see that all the copyrighted goods in this digital world has been converted into a digital goods. So more or less, people are trading a digital commodities between one person to another person. So as a result of the works has been digitized in the internet, then what has been mentioned just now, so people might people have a perceptions that these work are free. So they have some kind of perceptions that they doesn't need to actually obtain an authorization from the corporate owners itself. So what we want to actually discover is that when they have a perception that everything is free in the internet, so does the user actually liable, or actually the platforms which make available of those work are liable for such infringement? Let's say, for example, if you're opening Instagram, you want to actually include a music to your reels. For example, you take a piece of music, but you did not take the music from the Instagram itself, then your music in your reels would be partially mute. Okay, that's one of the example. And second example, when you upload a video that contains a copyrighted music in the YouTube will actually given you a warning that that music might infringe someone else's copyrighted works. So the question is, how a user actually here, whether such user already get a clearance from the copyright owners to use the music. So in these things, most of the content service providers like YouTube, Instagram, they have like their self-enforcement mechanism where they have a digital technology where when a piece of music is being played in the generated content for social media generated content, they will actually automatically take down and it will stay down until you get a right clearance. So we actually at MYIPO, we doesn't have to monitor that because the service provider have such enforcement mechanism to deter any unauthorized use of corporate materials put into a corporate works. But in MYIPO, the most important, the most actually issue with regards to the enforcement of the copyright law in Malaysia is regarding the issues of illegal streaming, because users might visit piracy websites every day. Even the digital reports in 2001 created by a data company, 182 billions visit to copyright piracy website every day. So how do you want to enforce the provision in copyright law in the border world to search for infringer? Even that infringer is not residing in Malaysia, perhaps in Indonesia, in Singapore. How do our police want to actually enforce that kind of rights? They can't actually catch the perpetrator here. What we can do, we site block the website through the court order, or they can make a complaint to MCMC, okay, Suruhanjaya Komunikasi and Multimedia Malaysia, to block to order their service provider, internet service provider, for example, the MCMC order the Unify to block internet access which provide the illegal content. That's it. You can't actually catch a perpetrator, but you can actually block and access to such content. But still, you can actually use a VPN. That's the issue. So VPN is actually a provider where you can actually change URL sites to another different country. So what is the purpose of having site block here when you have a VPN? So that's another thing. It's very hard to enforce something that is out of your control. That's why the existence of the legislation in Malaysia, legislation itself, the law itself cannot fight piracy. What you can do, you can actually collaborate among industry itself. For example, among the association of event organizers as a corporate owners, you voluntarily take your own measures to actually take down the content, like what as the service provider is doing, like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. Most of that a new business model. But for this SMEs, like small enterprises, they don't have that capability to do that. So since IP is actually a private right, you have to actually enforce by yourself, because let's say, for example, when when a person kills someone, that is not a private right. It is a public right. It is a duty of the police to enforce provision regarding to the penal code, because it involves a public as a large. But in case of IP, it is between a person. It is involve a monetary rights. It is a market driven. It's a private right. So the corporate owner should enforce by themselves with the assistance with the IP police, which is MYIPO and also the ministry, to enforce such right. I mean, that's one of the example on how difficult in our situation to enforce like intellectual property rights in the borderless world.
Oh, I see. Before we further ado, may I ask Mr. Jonathan, do you want to leave these forum sessions now?
I have a little bit more time. Yeah, I have.
All right. Okay. So
15,
just
20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes. So.
15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Sure. All right. Thank you, Mr. Shafiq, about the exposure just now. Can I ask Mr. Shafiq about the previous answer from Mr. Jonathan about the issues about the ideas? Since as an event planner, the ideas not get the protected. Yeah. So can I ask that is there any chance that MYIPO has different or specialized right to protect the event agency or event industry?
Okay, so in my opinion, regardless any industry you are practicing in, you should actually register your copyrighted works. What I mean by register is that when you have an idea, you have to express it into a work. What kind of expression that you need before you're registering your work, you have to make that work into writing. A mere ideas, which is just revolving around your head, it is not protected unless you have reduced it in your writing. Let's say, for example, you have an idea to create a video, but you doesn't express it into a writing. You tell it to your friend that this is my idea, A, B, C, D, and E, and that friend of yours take your idea, reduce it into a writing, and register as their intellectual property. So host rights is actually conferred to here. So for sure, that friend of yours is actually own that ideas because he actually reduced that idea into writing and the first to register it to MYIPO, for instance. So that's how the IP works. You have to register for that innovation or creation before someone else, even before you are telling to your friend. Somehow we have an issue where there is two directors where they are sharing their ideas regarding the regarding the creations of the module for students learning. They're telling that this idea is good, this is how it should operate, and that friend of him take their ideas, open the company, and register it under their company. So when their friend discover that this is my idea, it's already too late. That's why when you have an idea, you must not show to the others first. Perhaps you might consider to get it protected first before you can actually showcase it online. That's why in some of the most patented works, copyrighted work, and trademark, they actually register their work before they are looking to commercialize their work at the first place. I mean, that's my opinion, for example, at the moment.
Oh, I see. Like as an event, we have like more new ideation, so we must transform it into the writing, and then we register it under MYIPO. All right. Thank you, Mr. Shafiq, about the exposure for that. Sorry, wait a moment. Sorry for the technical issues. Thank you, Mr. Shafiq, that provided explanation in response to our inquiries on this matter. So I think all the audience and also me already understand how the intellectual properties works in the real world. So as you all know, there will surely be issues and obstacles in a company from a variety of perspectives. So for Mr. Jonathan, how does your company adopt appropriate measures that leads to the security risk and fines, as well as the negative publicity, data protection, and cybersecurity?
Yeah, I mean, good question. But basically, we are practicing all standard measures. I mean, first of all, we don't try to infringe on any copyright issues. So, the first things first is always to make sure that you do everything by the book because we serve multinationals. Even right now, a huge part of the last 2 years is something called GDPR or some drama like that. It's basically data protection, right? Because we are getting a ton of information from people when they sign up for our event platforms, our microsites, this, that, and the other. And the multinational companies are very strict. They need to know that we are flushing and purging this information post-event. We're not keeping it, we're not selling it, this, that, and the other. Because right now, data content is king, right? So for us, we need to comply to all market standards, everything that has been said. I mean, and honestly, it always cascades from either the Western world or the European side. These guys are always the first to start coming up with all sorts of crazy ideas, and then they implement it, and then the world says, okay, yeah, this is going to be the status quo of how things are done. So for us as a international event planning agency, we have to toe the line. So we've got no qualms with that, because for us it's nothing more than, hey, we're delivering high premium services, and it means that we are complying to all rules and regulations that are set out there. So I think from that standpoint, we're not in a situation where we're infringing on stuff. The only nitpicking I want to do is the online stuff, the music, the videos, and honestly, that's been a moving goalpost from the day YouTube came along, and then all the other, music. It started with Napster back in the day. Shaufik, you might remember what I'm talking about. I don't know if you guys have a clue what Napster is, but that was the earliest days of people downloading music and artists suing them and all sorts of drama before Spotify, before everything. All right, so that's going back 20 years now, but never mind. But the point is, as long as the world has been digital, there's always been constant updates in what is the definition of infringement of this, infringement of that, infringement of every Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? But for us, generally, we play by the book, so we're not caught, off guard, unless of course it's I can't think of any situation. So I think my only advice is, generally when you're doing something now, it's already protected by all. For instance, every event now they require MACP and PPM, music authors copyright protection. So it's like we're getting hit everywhere. You got to play royalty-free music, then you got to pay for music, and I'm like, they claim that they're giving royalty checks. So if we play Beethoven and Mozart, who gets it? Who from Beethoven's estate or Mozart's estate is still collecting royalty checks? Do you know what I mean? These composers died 500 years ago. So this is where my argument with MACP and PPM, I just feel that they're just legalized alongs, collecting money from event companies for events that we produce. I always fight against these things because clients are already spending so much money. Why tax them and burden them some more? Especially when our international clients come into Malaysia, they don't have a clue what MACP and PPM is. And trying to explain that to them, it's like, they're like, you know what, okay lah, we are in Malaysia, you say we have to pay, we pay lah. I feel bad because half the time, are they actually going through the music that we played and curating it? So what, if we play a Kanye West song, they're sending a royalty check to Kanye West? I don't believe that. Because that's what MACP claims they're doing. They claim that they're collecting money from us to pay the artists. I'm like, really? You're sending Drake a check? I don't believe that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a topic for another day, by the way. So yeah, I hope I answered your question correctly.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I just knew that. So your way of adopting appropriate measure is quite great, and I love how you probably takes actions to solve these issues. Thank you, Mr. Jonathan. So can I ask you a question, Mr. Jonathan? Like, do you have any advice to the audience for those who want to pursue their career in event industry, especially the event industry that has been transformed to the hybrid concept, like live and virtual, something like that? Like, what we must know before we enter the real industry?
Sure. This is a great question, and I've got a perfect answer for you. So we get a lot of applicants coming to want to work with us and join us. They're attracted by what they see on social media. The moment they come and start working with us, they run for their life. They're like, huh? You mean 70% is in the office, 70% is emails, 70% is meetings, 70%, where's the event? 10% is event setup, 10% is event day, 10% is post-event. I said, yeah, social media is meant to sell our services, market our services. But do you know the work that goes in behind the scenes? After that, they wave their white flag and they run for their lives. Because nothing's going to come easy. The sleepless nights, the clients that are difficult beyond belief, you want to cough blood half the time, you want to muntah, But the point is, you got to put up with all of that. So for you guys who think you're signing on for event management because it's glamour, surrounded by artists and all that, mimpi lah tu. Because that's just 10%, that's event day only. Everything else is before and after. So a lot of people are living a figment of their imagination on what they see on social media, especially for us, because we do such high profile stuff. We do international conferences, we do government events, we do multinationals. It's high stakes, high stress, so in this last 1 year, I've had people come and go because they're attracted to what they thought they were attracted to. When the reality hits, they can't hack it. So events is not for everyone. It's for people driven by passion, people who know, people who have a very high pain and tolerance level, because clients are very difficult. They're always going to expect more, and this, that, and the other. And we work long hours, we work late, we don't get enough sleep. If you go research this, up there with the most stressful jobs in the world, top five, there's fireman and event manager. Top five.
Fine.
That's how stressful being an event manager is, because you're dealing with constant moving particles that it's not for everyone, So a lot of people, I just had someone leave saying, I need work-life balance and I cannot handle the stress. Because it's true, it is a very stressful job. But some of us, obviously, we get high on such stress, like we're obviously strange people. But it's not for everyone. Yeah. So for those of you who want to do events, unless you join a small meeting planning company who does one every 3 months, you're fine lah. But if you join a company like mine that's doing multiple events around the clock, you'll die standing.
Wow, yeah, I thought it's really nerve-wracking for me. Like for next in the future, I will enter in event industry.
In fact, now every time I interview people, my job is to scare them away.
Oh.
Because they have a fake understanding of what event management is. Every interview, I scare the crap out of them and say, you still want it, huh? You're signing up for your own death sentence. Because it's true, I've seen so much, no offense to all the young blood. They live in La La Land. They have no concept of what a real job in event management is. So I am sick and tired of dealing with young blood who come and then within few days, I've had people resign in 3 days, resign in 7 days, resign in 3 weeks. I feel like giving them a tight slap and say, please go and just hide it under your bed, Because don't come and do events if you don't know what you're signing up for. So a lot of people are attracted to social media. That's just marketing. Obviously, we're going to promote a nice video and show how great our event was. But do you know how much work went into it? How much blood, sweat, toil, and tears? So yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm very frustrated with the young people who don't know how to work hard anymore. No offense. But if you want to work hard, please come look for me.
Okay, I will think first before I approach you.
No, I'm just saying, because a lot of people don't, and I speak on behalf of my peers. The events industry is struggling right now. Because a lot of people, they just want the easy way. They just want all the glam. They want all the fun, but they don't want to do their time. And it's not that way. It doesn't work that way.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jonathan, for the session just now. There's a lot of new input that has been given to us. And also for me itself, like, all right, I just know the event industry right now, like very crunch. Like you need to use mentally and physically energy. Since we not get more exposure by the reality. I feel like the event itself like very chill, chilling with the artist, but no, I'm wrong.
I think the only chilled event is you're a funeral planner lah. That's
A funeral planner.
They do have, by the way. Yeah.
Oh,
not
they
here
do
lah.
have?
The Western world, not in Malaysia. But if you
Oh,
want to have
alright,
you want
I
to be
just
a
knew.
chilled event planner, you plan funerals lah. Then it's quite chill.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan. Wait then.
Any questions, anyone? I have to take leave
Alright.
soon. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan. I think that's it for it. Thank you for joining us for the forum session.
My pleasure.
do you
Thanks,
have-
everyone. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or we take interns. We're looking for people, so appreciate it. Thanks, Shafiq. I appreciate your input as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jonathan.
Bye bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Thank you for the session just now. And wait a moment. Mr. Shafiq, can I ask you like, can we continue the session?
Sure. I make
Alright.
Masa available until 12.
All right. All right. Wait a moment. Sorry, Mr. Shafiq, for hanging you a little bit.
No worry, no worry.
All right. All right. There's this question like we want to ask. Can we know like how long is since we go back to the protections of the intellectual property right? So can we know like how long is the terms of the protections of a work in Malaysia, like intellectual property?
Okay. So the terms of protection for copyrighted works is 50 years.
Oh, 15 years.
Yeah. So how do you actually calculate that 50 years?
Oh.
So the calculation is very easy. When you created a work, let's say today is 29 June 2022, you have the work ready. You created the work, completed the work, completed a assignment, for example, a book, a drawing, a music, for example. And that work will be calculated the next year, shall be calculated the beginning of the next calendar year. So the duration of 50 years will start from 1st January 2023 plus 50 years for a published work. I mean, for a published work like film and sound recording. But if your work is a book or it's a drawing or music sheets, so the calculation starts at a person's death. Let's say, for example, A, they died today. Okay, today they die. So the calculation will start the next beginning of the calendar year plus 50 years upon his death. So the duration will expire on 1st January 2053. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, for me like it's quite mathematical for me. It's we need to add another beginning of the month, like that. But yeah, I think I'm sure like the calculation is very simple, I think. So can we move to the next question?
Sure, can.
Is there that we have like another curiosity, which is why the duration of protection is different from country to country, like Malaysia and Africa, something like that. Each country has like their different duration, is it?
Yep.
Like why the durations of the protection is different?
Okay. Malaysia is 50 years.
I see.
Okay. But for the United States, their duration is 100 years. Singapore is 70 years. And most of the countries have average of 50 years. Why is that? Perhaps I can ask the participants here, why Malaysia 50 years?
Okay, so the participants,
why
can you ask?
other country is 100 years and 70 years? Like, for example, US, their protection is 100 years, but Malaysia is 50 years. Why?
100 years, US?
Yeah. Why?
Wow. Okay, why? Google now.
The question is why?
All right. Okay, I do some research.
Yeah, you can try. You can try.
Oh, I can try? Oh, great. Okay, so all the audience, you guys must do research now.
Yeah.
We have the comment. Because they have
a bigger number of citizens? It might be.
Oh.
It might be.
All right. Great job, great job. Okay. Another participant?
It's okay, I just answered the question.
Thank you.
Because Malaysia is a consumer-centric citizens, because we consume entertainment goods. We don't actually produce so much goods as compared to Korea and United States. When Malaysia we consume consume entertainment goods, means that we are not the country of exporting entertainment goods. Our entertainment industry is not as strong as Korea and United States. That's why I think most of you consume the US music, the British music, Korean music, K-pop, and so on. Less likely you are consuming the Malay songs, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's your kind of the generation.
Yeah.
That's why Malaysia, we are stick to 50 years. Because if you extend that protection, it will not benefit the users of that work, the consumers itself, because they will have to pay more royalties if the duration is extended to 100 years. They have a great monopoly. The corporate owner will impose a monopoly when they have a lengthy protection of corporate protection. That's number one. The countries like the United States, for example, because they are country of producing the entertainment works. They have bunch of creators who created the music, created a film, so they need to protect corporate owners first before they have to actually giving those work to the users. That's why they are giving more protection because they are country of producer. Same thing like in Korea, because Malaysia, we heavily rely on the palm oil as the GDP, gross domestic income, KDNK of Malaysia, about is the most highest Malaysia's income based on the palm oil. But for Korea, they doesn't have that commodity, so they have to rely on entertainment industry as their domestic income by exporting their entertainment goods. So they are providing a lengthy protection to protect their industry than any other industry itself. I mean, that's I think the reasons why Malaysians are still benchmarking 50 years and not extending to 100 years like most of the countries in the world.
I see. Oh, all right. I just knew about that. Like what is like the longest durations? Like Malaysia 15 years and United States is 100 years, and there's another like longest duration like 200 years.
We don't have 200 years.
Oh, then.
No, we have 100 years.
Oh, only 100 years. All right. Right. Thank you for the details and explanations. And the audience already, I enjoy like the audience can certainly understand what Mr. Shafiq said just now. Wait for a moment. Thank you very much for the session just now. There's a lot of examples that have been given to us, and I also heard something as well new exposure from our each speaker, since both of them came from different background. Most of event organizers are from talented people, which is involve people looking at the problem and try to solve it. As an event organizer, we try to do things more better and try to make things more clear. So all intellectual property is created is useful in event management in order for us to ensure that all intellectual property is bring forward to the market, and you have to run the event lah. So you have intellectual property is known as an asset and drive a value. As a student in the classroom, we are not exposed about what are the real situation outside. Then we need to understand the intellectual property event management, before we end these discussions, I will return this floor to our MC, Ms. Farna. The floor is yours. Thank you, Mr. Shafiq, for the
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you to our moderator, Miss Yasmin, and thank you very much to both panels, Mr. Shafiq and Mr. Jonathan, for an informative and interesting sharing on intellectual property right issues in event management. I hope we have all learned something valuable today. Moving on with our program, Mr. Shafiq will be answering some questions from the audience for our Q&A session. So please post in the chat box if you have any question for our panel. Okay, so the first question is from Siti Nurhamimi. So the question is, for song pattern, if the song has a different lyrics but have the same rhythm or tone with the other song, can the owner sue that person for infringement?
Okay. Firstly, we don't patent a song. We copyrighted a song. Okay. And secondly, if the song has different lyric but have the same rhythm, tone, similarity with other song, can the owner sue that person for copyright infringement? So, can the owner actually sue them? So I have to ask you a question. Can or not? Can or not?
I think can. I think can.
So the questions here are a little bit tricky. I just give you an example. Have any one of you is a fan of Ed Sheeran?
Yes.
Yes, me.
You can read the news here. Did you know that Ed Sheeran has been sued for copying others' rhythm included in their Shape of You song?
No.
Someone sing a Shape of You song from Ed Sheeran? Okay. You can read that article. Okay. So basically, Ed Sheeran has been sued because they take a piece of rhythm to include their the Shape of You song, and not only that, Ed Sheeran has also been sued for taking someone else's lyric into their songs, Ed Sheeran songs entitled Photograph. Two songs, Ed Sheeran been sued, which is the class suit is actually not 10 ringgit, it's 20 million USD dollars. So back to your questions, even that tone have same similarity and the lyric will have a similarity with the existing songs. When you use to make your own songs based on that rhythm or tone, you are still personally liable for copyright infringement. So you can't actually use someone else's song, or otherwise you might end up like Ed Sheeran. But Ed Sheeran is rich, they can pay lah. Okay. And I think that will be answer your question. Advisable you can read those news. It might give you some insights on whether you can actually use someone else's songs or not. And secondly, it is permissible to register a common phrase like daging harimau menangis as brand logo or trademark. You see that daging harimau menangis is actually a generic word. It's everyday words we are using in your daily life. Can I ask some of you that can we trademark what is your name? Hannah Bellatrix. Can we trademark Hannah
Yeah.
Bellatrix here?
Cannot. That is
Because it
me.
is your name. It's a very
Yeah.
generic names. So you have actually 1 million Hannah using Hannah names in the world. You can actually trademark Hannah Bellatrix if you make your name into a graphic sign or logo. Did you get what I mean? You can actually trademark the phrase itself, but you can actually trademark the graphic out of the phrase. Kentucky Fried Chicken, for example, you can actually trademark the word Kentucky Fried Chicken, but you can actually trademark the logo of KFC.
I see.
Okay, because if you trademark Kentucky Fried Chicken, it's very generic. That's why in your daily life, you would see some of the common phrase which people are confusing in their daily life. When you are referring to tapau food in a container, you would not say, please put this food in a container. You would say that please tapau this food in my Tupperware. Tupperware itself is a trademark. It is not a thing. It is not a container. It is a trademark version of a container to put a food. You see what I mean? Okay. Another one is Maggi. Maggi is actually trademark. It is an instant noodle, but in Malaysia, we are confusing the word Maggi to referring to noodles, instant noodle. Everywhere we say Maggi, Maggi Ruski, Maggi Mami, but we are referring that instant noodle to Maggi. Same thing with Tupperware. You can actually refer what kind of word you are actually referring in your daily life. Can you name me some example other than Tupperware and Maggi? Where you can think
Milo.
Colgate. You can just mention it here, Milo. Anything which give a common words that you are using every day without you mentioning it. You have to mention it every day.
Samsung. Any Android phone, all are Samsung.
Not really, isn't it? I think you have so much of common word. Okay. I think please, it is like we want to share this knowledge with everyone. So instead of Tupperware and Maggi, we also use apa ni?
Someone in the comments said Colgate.
Colgate. Colgate also has been referred because we want to actually get ubat gigi kan. We are also mentioning a Colgate. Okay. I think most of you know what is the difference between common phrase and trademark. So I think when you say daging harimau menangis, you can actually protect the common phrase of daging harimau menangis. You can make it into a graphical sign and get it protected. Still, we will disclaim that word to be registered. We will register only the graphic word itself. And another question that I received here. Hi, Mr. Shafiq. Since most music have their copyrights on, what's your thoughts on people remix that song? When people remix that song, they actually take a piece of music to actually make something new. So when people take a piece of music from other people's song, they actually act as a licensee. Jadi pelesen lah. And they still have to pay royalties, and that royalties is still due to the original owner of that song. Okay, it doesn't confer a new corporate protection to the owner of the remix song. They are still a mere licensee. Like lagu Jimmy Palikat has been included into a Anak Kampung remix song. Okay, but it depends on contractual agreement also, whether you still want to retain that rights or you want to actually hold it as a license. And another thing is that, okay, another question. So I heard from the rumors about the UKs who have disbanded, and any such later want to claim rights over the brand name, only to find out that the rights for their brand name is owned by each one of the members. How was this case solved? So my answer, I don't know, because I don't actually take I don't actually take some news, take heavily rely on the Malay music here. So mostly I take news from the overseas, like Ed Sheeran cases and so on. So it might, I will read somehow I will read regarding the UK's ban here. But what I want to mention here is that they are still referring to the original contract. If the contract says that when a person disbanded a contract, whose the IP would be belong to. So if the IP, when someone has disbanded a group, for example, there must be a certain provision that those brand names of the IP, who should we actually convert to? So here, probably I didn't actually take note of that case. Probably the brand name would absolutely rely on the one who registered that brand name at the first place. So perhaps MYSearch, the brand name was due to the MYSearch, then MYSearch was rightly the legitimate owner of that brand name. So UK, for example, would never have those rights unless they can prove it otherwise. So I don't know how this case ends. Perhaps you can enlighten me on this. I don't know, Yasmin, you are a fan of UK's and MYSearch? Yeah, I think that's my opinion on that case.
Not really, but I just heard the rumors about that. Yeah, it is quite curious how the end.
I have a question myself.
Yeah.
So the strong religious sentiment of the believers cannot be overlooked or dismissed lightly by the legislators in Malaysia. So how does a religion play a role in improving the standard of intellectual property protection within event industry?
Can you repeat it? I'm sorry. I'm doing something else. Yeah.
So how does a religion play a role in improving the standard of intellectual property protection in Malaysia?
Religion?
Yes. Does religion play a role in the standard intellectual property rights protection?
For me, religion does not have any role in Malaysia in creating a copyrighted works. But in Malaysia, we also have standards, written laws that govern intellectual properties. Other than Copyright Act. For example, I give you an example. There is a case regarding when you want to actually create the translation of Quran, okay, for example, or Bible, for example, you still need a clearance from Home Affairs Ministry, okay, Kementerian Dalam Negeri. So you can't actually simply create that translation of Quran without their complying their terms and regulations. So although religions here are referring to the creation of the translation, it doesn't serve any function as long as you comply with the guidelines provided by the Ministry of Home Affairs. When you created a work which is actually insulted a religion, copyrighted works, which insulted a certain religion, for example, you still can, that work is still copyrightable, but you will be penalized under a different act. For example, you created a book that insult the rulers of Malaysia. that book is copyrighted. Yes, it is qualified to be copyrighted works, but later you will get punishment lah under a penal code because you are insulting a rulers. So you might get a mandatory sentence for insulting a rulers under the penal code. So that's why different views comes, especially when you make a satire for some kind of work. You would see that we have a case like Fahmi Reza. You know Fahmi Reza? You know Fahmi Reza?
Yes, yes.
Satire of the rulers.
Yeah.
Okay, they created a satire for the Malay rulers. Satire itself, the drawing itself, is qualified as a copyright protection. Correct? You make a drawing, that drawing may be copyrighted. Okay. You can open their Fahmi Reza website here. Okay. But satire is not recognized under Copyright Act in Malaysia. Because different approaches is different in each country. Because Malaysia is only a moral country, we doesn't recognize satire as an exception under Copyright Act. That's why you would see Mr. Bean cartoon. Mr. Bean cartoon, they can make fun of their Queen Elizabeth in their cartoon as a satire because it is permitted under their Copyright Act. They recognize satire as one of the exceptions that they can actually make fun of Queen Elizabeth. But Malaysia, we don't recognize satire as an exception to insult or make fun of our rulers because we are a moral country. We are not Western country. We have to respect Malaysia rule of law. Unless you otherwise disagree, you can actually live in the UK. Okay? Because Malaysia, we respect rulers as more or less because we are Asian culture, we are not Western culture, we don't recognize satire like what Fahmi Reza did. It's very wrong. But that's why you would see most of the movies, they make fun of their President Obama, okay, and they make fun of their religion, they make fun of their Jesus because it is satire. They recognize under their law. Malaysia, we don't recognize at all. That's why we don't have a movie actually insults religion in Malaysia. Even you want to make a movie, you will be actually, today you make movie, at the evening you will be interrogated by police. That's why Malaysia is a very moral country when we are happy to live in Malaysia. If you're not happy, you can go somewhere else in another country. Okay.
Okay, I understand. So we up for one more question. Can you pick a question to answer from the chat box?
Okay. How does international individual or organization who are under their home country IP office being protected outside the residing country when there is an infringement happening? Okay, I give you an example. You uploaded your work in the Facebook. Let's say you upload a drawing. Okay, you are from the faculty what?
We are under business faculty.
Okay, business faculty. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say one of the students from your business faculty created a drawing on how drawings relate to the logo. Create a logo for faculty of business. Drawing like some kind of drawing logo and so on. Okay. You upload in the social media in Malaysia, and there is an infringer which we don't know where he is residing. He take your work, download it, and re-upload it in the same Facebook. Okay. Now you realize that your work has been steals from other person. You doesn't know which that person is, but you know that that person, he live in Singapore, for example. Okay. How to enforce such right? Here, Facebook have an avenue to enforce such right where you can click report button. That's the number one. It's very easy. Okay. That's the service provider protection. You can just click a report. But still, there is another infringer who re-upload it in another Facebook account. So how to enforce it? So the issue of enforcement here comes. When I try to relate to your question, here in Malaysia, you have to actually register your drawing first before you upload it online. So the methods of registration, you have to created some sort of document like statutory declaration, okay, that mentioning that your work is original and so on. Okay, first. And how you want to get it protected in another country. Let's say you want to go to Singapore, you want to commercialize that work there. Okay. You just need to bring that statutory declaration, get it notarized public at the Singapore, and automatically your work is protected in Singapore. That's it. It's very easy. Copyright is very easy, unlike trademark, patent, geographic indication, and so on. So the individual itself must protect it in Malaysia IP office, for example, not necessarily like IP office for copyrighted work. Just make an SP. Okay. When he residing in another country, just appoint a representative to register on their behalf in that country. That's it. When infringement occurs online, when there is a reason to believe that a person is residing in Singapore, you can just make a complaint to the Singapore police, okay, based on that statutory declaration, and they will commence a criminal action against them and search which person he is and perhaps catch a perpetrator in the house. That's it. But still, you first need to register at the originating country. Okay.
I see the process is quite simple. So
Yeah,
thank you so much, Mr. Shafiq, for answering questions from our audience. And thank you to everyone for your questions. I am sorry that we are unable to answer all of them due to our limited time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally come to the end of this forum. Before I close the forum, please turn on your camera for photography session. Okay, everyone smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for your cooperation. Please scan the QR code displayed on your screen to fill our feedback form. You will find a link to the e-certificate website at the end of the feedback form. And with that, I would like to thank the panels for informative and interesting sharing, and to the participant for a very active participation. Hopefully the forum will be beneficial for everybody. Please give a round of applause for everyone here today. Thank you and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.